SpongeGex here. Last time I reviewed the Tex Avery classic cartoon, so today I'll follow it up by reviewing the Wacky World of Tex Avery. No, I'm just kidding. No one wants to talk about that train wreck. But what I will talk about does indeed contain the word wacky in the title. Today I'm going to do a short review of Looney Tunes Wacky World of Sports for Nintendo Switch, also available on PlayStation 4, PS5, and the Xbox Series consoles. The game released late 2024. It's a collection of sports video games set in the world of Looney Tunes. I kind of wanted to try it out when it was first announced, but I felt unsure of it. The game looked like it was going to be a cheap license cash-in, and spoiler alert, it is. It's by the same team who made the Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl games, and those are kind of a mixed bag. The game is normally $40, but there's a ridiculous $60 digital deluxe version, which has an exclusive playable character being Yosemite Sam. Now that is just ridiculous. $20 for an extra character, and it doesn't allow players who already bought the standard edition to have any chances of buying the character separately down the line. That is just so stupid. The standard edition was available for a cheaper price on Nintendo Switch lately, only being $30, but the deluxe version is still $60 for some stupid reason. So I ended up just getting the standard edition, and I felt very mixed about it. For Looney Tunes fans, there is some charm to be had with it, playing as fan-favorite characters like Bugs Bunny, Porky Pig, Wile E. Coyote, Roadrunner, Daffy Duck, Elmer Fudd, Lola Bunny, Sylvester the Cat, and Tasmanian Devil. Sadly, there are plenty of characters who are not playable, despite how they appear as NPCs in the background, including Marvin the Martian, Foghorn Leghorn, and then there are characters who are missing entirely, like Petunia Pig, Penelope Pussycat, Pepe Le Pew. Now, I can understand why Tweety and Speedy aren't playable, because they're just too small to fit amongst the rest of the roster in these kind of sporting events. The visuals for this game are decent, nothing amazing, but passable cel-shaded graphics to really emphasize the cartoony nature of Looney Tunes. The animations leave a lot to be desired, feeling kind of slow and floaty. The characters kind of have blank expressions. The controls are incredibly sluggish, and the movement speed keeps switching from going too fast or too slow. Now, this isn't just an issue with the Switch version either, because I've seen footage of the PS5 version and it runs just as poorly, just about the same. It's not game-breakingly bad, though. It's not lagging too terribly, but you just can't help but notice how unbalanced the speed of the gameplay is at times. The sound effects and music are pretty lackluster as well. At least the voice actors do a decent job. We got the return of many Looney Tunes voice acting regulars like Eric Bauza, Kath Soucie, and Jim Cummings.
Are you ready for this?
The best way to sum up the gameplay is that it's basically Mario Sports Superstars for 3DS, but worse. All of these sport games are just inferior versions of much better sport games out there, mainly Mario games. The 4 sports in this game include basketball, golf, soccer, and tennis. Not a single one of these sporting events stand out compared to the many other sport games we've gotten in the past, especially from the Mario series. The only thing that really stands out about this is, aside from the roster, it would be the unique level selection. So each event has 3 unlockable stage variants, but there's only 3 per sport, and only 1 is available from the start. The other 2 stage variants are very hard to unlock. They're locked behind the single-player tournament modes, or this ridiculous challenge mode. There's also unlockable gear for the sport, such as different balls for the basketball, or different tennis rackets, but they too are under ridiculous unlock requirements in the challenge mode. Basketball was arguably the most tolerable of these events, but it still is a huge downgrade compared to playing basketball in Mario Sports Mix. All of the characters have the exact same stats and slow movements. Each character in each event can activate special moves which allow them to score with an overpowered attack. Now, each character gets unique animations, but they all end up doing the exact same thing. I hate how there isn't a function for swatting the ball out of the hands of the players when they try performing a slam dunk or jump in the air with the ball. Speaking of which, I kind of wish that there was a function to just jump while you're holding the ball. You can only jump while you're trying to block as a defender, so you can't press a button to just jump in the air and then press another button to shoot. It's all basically done with just one button, so it basically depends on where you're standing in the basketball court. There are power-ups you can collect to attack your opponents, but they're very basic, very boring. Stuff just like throwing a pie, dropping an anvil, or creating a Taz-like twister. That's it, not a big selection. The controls in this event can feel very unresponsive at times. It's like you press the jump button or press the button to swap characters, yet it sometimes doesn't register. The same applies to many of the other events. The court themes are pretty nice, though, very unexpected for a basketball game. You got, like, Granny's house, Yosemite Sam's pirate ship, and then Porky's barn. There are a few things that bug me about this mode, like how there isn't a dash button or a dodge maneuver. I already mentioned how I wish there was a proper jump button. We always have to stop and charge in order to shoot with a gauge in order to get our ball through the hoop, and we have to get it just right, otherwise our shots will miss the hoop. Otherwise, I did have the most fun with this mode, but there's better basketball games out there. Golf is basically a worse version of Mario Golf Super Rush. I like how the setting is themed after the first Rabbit Season Duck Season short, but the music is very grating, very generic. Just doesn't feel like it matches with the Looney Tune aesthetic. Unlike Mario Golf, this mode forces you to compete with 3 other CPU players, which makes this mode drag on. I prefer playing Mario Golf with no competitors to make the gameplay go by a lot faster instead of having to slowly wait around for the other players to hit their ball. I mean, there is kind of a way to fast forward a little bit, but I'd rather just skip it entirely. Again, there are items in this mode, but they require hitting the ball through these sets of rings that are floating in the air, and the placement for them is terrible. I mean, no one wants to collect an item if it means that your ball will end up in the rough, bunker, or a water hazard, or out of bounds. Golf is arguably the most exhausting game in this collection due to its length. It just doesn't have very good golf physics either, and the gauge for hitting the ball feels too fast. Yeah, just play Mario Golf Super Rush instead. Tennis is basically Mario Tennis Aces, but worse. It even has the slow motion gimmick and the first person aiming for special shots. It just feels slower and less precise than the Mario Tennis games. There are power-ups if you hit the ball through these floating little rings that Tweety Bird drops, but yeah, they're not much anything special. They just drop anvils or have lightning strike on the other side. Yeah, it's pretty boring. And finally, Soccer. It's just a worse version of Mario Strikers, with a lot of pesky stage hazards like lightning, anvils, and potions. The controls for this game feel even worse than basketball. It is so hard to try stealing the ball from the other players. The game just doesn't feel responsive when you try swapping between your teammates to chase after the ball. There's so many times where I swap to my player and I try running towards the ball, and then it's like no one's moving. It's like, what the heck is going on? It has some of the worst goal kicking I've ever seen in a soccer video game. Now, most soccer games have it where you tilt the joystick while kicking in order to aim where you want to aim your kick. But in this game, the ball just flings in random directions, usually straight into the goalie, which makes this the most frustrating event in the game. The main mode of the game has 1 to 4 players competing in a series of 4 sports that are randomly selected via a wheel, and whoever gets the most points across all 4 events wins the tournament. This is such a flawed idea for a mode since 3 of the events require us to team up with our competitors, meaning every time we win, we help our competitors win as well. Golf is the only game where it's everyone for themselves, so you basically have to win the golf game if you want to win this whole tournament. The games feel more like they take dumb luck to win compared to actual skill, due to how faulty the game's designs are. There's a regular games mode where we can freely play the game, so if anyone buys this game out of curiosity, just focus on this mode. And so here we can also choose like the team colors we want our players to wear, and this is the only mode where we can use the unlockable gear that we get in challenge mode. Speaking of which, the worst feature in this game is the challenge mode, where we are tasked to beat 20 challenges across all 4 sporting events for a total of 60 challenges. These are ridiculously strict, they're time limit heavy, and they all take very dumb luck to win. I've only beaten all the missions for basketball and soccer, and I honestly rage quit during the tennis one. I have no desire to beat it anymore. It is such a living hell. Some of these missions we will be redoing forever, like the dreaded mission that requires us to win a basketball game while blocking 8 shots from our opponents under a very strict time limit. You try thinking smart and stand around for the CPU to steal the ball so you can block it, but the CPU don't do anything. So you're just running around like, hey, just take the ball from me already, and they're not doing anything. When they finally do steal it, then another obstacle will come the way, like the CPU will just start running into a wall and not bother throwing the ball so you can try blocking it. I had to restart this stupid mission 30 minutes before the game finally lucked out and I won. It took no skill to win, just dumb luck. The CPU are hellbent in making sure that you do not win any of these missions, and that is a terrible way to build a mission mode in any game, period. Mission mode should not have to require dumb luck based on how the CPU act. They should be based on how you, the player, act. Soccer had some truly horrid challenges as well. including events where we have to score 3 goals within 45 seconds, but the goalie keeps automatically blocking our kicks, and since you can't aim where you want your ball to go, that means that you'll be doing this mission over and over for so many times. Mission modes in sport games are just the worst. Now, I don't mind having fun little mini-games and side activities in sport games like the ones in Mario Power Tennis. Those were actually a fun addition, a great side feature. They were not necessary for beating the games. They should just be optional mini-games. Fun for multiplayer and stuff like that. But I do not have fun wasting hours and even days repeating missions that are necessary for unlocking everything in this game. It's not fun. All of this for a few additional basketballs or Granny's house as a playable court, it's not worth all the trouble players have to go through to unlock. Why couldn't they just have it be unlocked through an in-game store where we earn money by winning the sporting events based on how well we played or something? That's always the best way to unlock content in games, where even if you lose, you still get a little bit of money so you can store it up and then buy extra content. That's how this game should have been built. This mission mode is stupid. It's the game's way of saying, yeah, we didn't bother putting much into this game, so we're going to force you to grind through all these pesky, frustrating missions just to get the most out of it, and it's not worth it. I mean, these extra courts, yeah, they look different, but they play exactly the same. Yeah, you get, like, different basketballs. Like, you can play with a bomb instead of a regular basketball. But is it worth going through all that hell just to unlock one little skin? No, it's not. So, yeah, if you're curious and you end up getting this game, just focus on the free play mode. Do not bother with the single player modes, the challenge modes. There's nothing to offer, really. Overall, this really is a mess of a game. I don't hate it, though. Like, it was still fun and charming to see these beloved characters playing sports, even if the gameplay wasn't the best. I had fun seeing a character like Roadrunner playable. I mean, you wouldn't think that this goofy, tall-looking bird would be able to swing a golf club or a tennis racket, but it's so amusing to see him do it anyways. Lola was such a lovable dork in this game with some of the cutest faces, yet she has some of the strangest quotes out of all the characters, just randomly blurting out like food names or something. It's so weird.
Better than brain freeze.
While the animations in the game aren't great, they still add some fun personality, like Daffy and Porky's special moves in basketball, where Daffy tries pulling off a slam dunk, but he fumbles and flops to the ground, yet the ball recoils into the hoop anyways. Or how Porky tries doing a slam dunk, but he accidentally slams the ball into the hoop as it bounces hard off of his head and ricochets back into the hoop as Porky crashes into the ground unconscious. I mean, if you're a Looney Tunes lover, this game doesn't hurt to try out, but I'd only get it if you're really curious, and I'd only recommend it if you can find it on sale for less than $30, because this is not worth $60. Previously, I said that I'd review the Looney Tunes Gold Collection, but before I do that, I'll start with the Collector's Choice Volumes 1 through 3, since there's less cartoons to cover on those. Anyways, that's all I have to show for now. Thank you for watching, see you next time, and have a great day.
Let's give a huge cheer for our top winners!
Woohoo! Do I get a free waffle cone now?
Second place! Who's responsible for this? I demand to know! Coming in third ain't so bad. It means there's a room for improving to get better. I want a recount! I demand a recount!